Welcome everyone to another wonderful Sessionboard and ASP webinar. We're excited you're here this morning, and we are super passionate to talk about SEO today. It is the secret key to unlocking the internet these days, and John and I are going to unpack all of those goodies for us. So welcome everyone this morning or this afternoon. This is literally the reason I love digital events so much and why I think they're never going to go away, because we are spanning 2 continents this morning and this afternoon for John. So we're really excited that you're joining us from wherever in the world it is you're joining us today. And I want to kick it off and introduce my co-host today, John. John, do you want to introduce a little bit about yourself?
Hi everyone, my name's John Monk. I'm Head of Attendee Growth Services here at ASP. I have been specialising in SEO for the last 12 years. I got introduced to ASP by by doing an audit on their website. So, and now I work for them and help other client sites too. So,
That's awesome.
I know everything about SEO.
That's amazing. It's why we have you here today, because I think we all need an SEO specialist in our life on all fronts. So we're excited to dive into this topic. And I am Megan Martin, Director of Events and Partnerships here at Sessionboard. And so we only have 30 minutes, so let's dive right into it. So I actually used the analogy the other day that the internet is kind of like the kitchen junk drawer. When we first move into our houses, it's all organized. We know where everything is. We can always find it. Or if you move into a new closet, you generally know where all of your things are. And then as we're adding more stuff, it gets a little cluttered. And then we might get lazy or we're in a hurry. So we're just like throwing stuff in there, not really organizing it. And now we can't find anything. That's how the internet feels like to me these days. There's so much information on it. There's so many things that we can search for. And it's really hard to get through all the noise and then add sponsored content even on top of that. So John, explain to us at the very basic 101 level, what even is SEO?
Search engine optimization. So it's really creating your content on your website so it matches what people are searching for. So if someone is searching for a particular speaker, it's very simply just doing a few tweaks to the speaker page on your website to make sure the search engines recognize who that person is and therefore can deliver that when someone's actually doing that search. So SEO in its very basic terms is just doing a few tweaks on your site to make it easy for people to find that content by aligning what people are searching for to what you have on your website. But the key thing is aligning it to what people are actually searching for. So you do need to understand that.
Got it. And so how can event organizers start thinking about laying out their website and what kind of things should be on there to leverage their speakers to help that SEO? Is it the speakers name themselves? Is it in the bio? Is it in session descriptions? Maybe all of the above? Where should event organizers start to look to add SEO to their sites?
So if we take speakers as an example, the speaker name is obviously a key part, but one of the things in which the search engines are looking for is unique, good quality original content. And one of the big problems that we find with speakers and speaker bios is that often people think it's going to be a lot of time to do that on their bio because they may be speaking at a number of events. So it takes time and effort to fill out their bio on the event website. So they may just copy and paste some information maybe from their LinkedIn or from somewhere else and put it onto their speaker bio on the event. So from Google's point of view, this is not good quality content because it may appear on numerous other places on the internet. So what you're looking for on, and it's relevant, and this relates to all pages, not just a speaker bio page. That content needs to be unique and good quality. And we can address this a bit later, but nowadays we can use AI to help that process, because writing a brand new bio for every single event in which you're going to be appearing at is obviously a lot of time and effort. So we can now today use AI to write these bios for the speaker pages, so they're good quality. But this concept of unique quality content is one that applies to every single page that you want to have appear within search on your website. So whether it's a speaker page, whether it's one of your exhibitors, maybe you have some topics that you're addressing at your show, whatever it might be that you think that people might be searching for, it's good quality content on that page is critical.
Awesome. And we talked specifically just now about the speakers, but what about the session side of it with session descriptions, the tagging, the tracks that you're assigning those sessions to? How does that impact SEO for your search on your website as well?
So for an event website, it impacts it potentially enormously because in isolation, an agenda, a synopsis is just one page. So people may or may not be searching for the content on that one page, but where you have to think is where that content is then distributed throughout the site. Because so you have the one page for the synopsis, but then via our platform and via many other platforms, you can then put widgets and distribute this content throughout the website. So let's say, for example, you have a certain section of your conference or show or event, which will include maybe a third of your agenda items. You can then feed all of those in so they appear on that page, and suddenly you have amazingly valuable content appearing on that page, which is a sum of all of the individual synopsises that have been done. So if each synopsis the speaker doesn't take the time and the effort to fill that out properly, then the same will appear on these individual pages on which that item may appear. So the content on these synopsises gives the opportunity for both that page to appear in search, as well as potentially numerous other pages as well. So it's incredibly important. And as alluded to before, in the past, it'd be really time consuming to do that. So again, we can go into, I can give some hints and tips later on how we can use AI, but AI can also be a fantastic resource, and which as an event organizer, you can give hints and tips to your speakers on how they can write their synopsis, and therefore, and this is a great thing about this content. It's not stuff that you have to write. That one of the problems with any form of website, and one of the costs is the marketing team having to create the content themselves. But if you can provide good guidance to speakers or exhibitors on how they can write quality content, that boosts your website, and you can greatly leverage their time to enhance the SEO of your site.
And when we're talking about writing session descriptions and making it original content, when we say original, that means we haven't used that session description with that session anywhere else, and we're writing it specifically using specific terms or terminology that we know people are going to search on. So if we use AI as the example, I'm running a conference on AI, and so I think about the ways our audience would search to find my event or even this webinar about SEO. So if someone went in and started searching for webinars on SEO, we would then want to write a description in the title and the session description of this, all around using specific words that people would also use to search for it. Is that correct?
That is correct. So it is possible to do research in terms of what people are searching for online. There are tools available to find out how many people are searching for certain things. In reality, I think it's probably unlikely that many of the speakers are going to do that. If for example, you have some keynote talks, I think it's probably worth, as a marketing team, there's tools, for example, within Google Ads, the keyword planner, in which you can find out the number of searches for certain keywords, such as AI talk, for example. And then maybe for some of the keynote speeches, you can then inform the speaker that we want to include this term within the synopsis and help them out. I think for most synopsis, there won't be time to do that, but I think so long as it's written for the user, then by the time that content then comes onto your site, there's things we can do afterwards by grouping that content onto well-optimized pages, which will make use of that. But you're absolutely right in terms of raising the concept of a keyword, in which, as a general concept, you always want to be targeting words in which people are searching for. So if, for example, there are lots of searches for AI conference, but there was no searches for, I don't know, AI presentation, or fewer searches for that, you'd always go for the one which has greater opportunity and increases your reach and has the most amount of search. But yeah, keywords are incredibly important, and I think it's once you have that content from the agenda items that you can then start grouping that together and optimizing your own pages.
That's awesome. And thinking beyond just keywords and terms, maybe, and tagging systems, we had a great question come into the chat from Rachel. And she says, do backlinks send traffic to event sites and help with SEO and website traffic? It's a great question, Rachel, because we've been talking a lot about search terms. So what about linking out? What does that look like? And how does that impact SEO?
Fantastic question. So there are many things that search engines look for when looking how strong and authoritative a website is. Backlinks is certainly one of them. That's a link from another website onto yours. Backlinks, they'll provide traffic to the site if it's a relevant website. If it has a relevant business partnership, so to your site. So maybe it's an industry association and it's promoting your site. Those are really valuable backlinks, and those are the ones you really want to be going after. The old school SEO backlinks, in which people used to try and build just to manipulate the search engines, are a lot less valuable, and I'd suggest not wasting your time on those. This isn't also to be confused with links going out. So for example, if you have a speaker bio, certainly very valuable to have then links out to maybe your LinkedIn profile, your company website, social media, and both of them have value in actual fact, because you'd expect that a speaker bio would have details of how you could get hold of them. So the links out to them really helps too. So both backlinks coming in from highly relevant organizations, excellent. And in terms of links going out, so whether it's on the speaker bio page going out to their profiles, or maybe you've written an article and going out to other references on there, both are very valuable and help your SEO.
Oh, good to know. So
quality over quantity, right? Every time.
For sure. So we should be thinking about our keywords, using backlinks, basically connecting the internet to your content so it's more searchable and findable.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Okay, so one thing you mentioned about setting up your website, that was kind of an interesting concept, because I don't think a lot of events think in this way right now, and that is content-specific pages. And so walk me through how ASP handles these content-specific pages. What does that look like? And then how do they impact the SEO of your event?
Fantastic question. So this is both from an SEO point of view as well as from a visitor. So you have an event, you maybe have the main term for that event, maybe it's an aerospace event, or like saying an AI event. But the reality is that event will have many subtopics within it, in which people may only be interested in one or a number of those subtopics. So they may be searching very specifically for that, and there could be great search attached to that. So, let's say it's an AI event, maybe there's AI in banking, or AI in insurtech, or there could be 101 searches that relate to AI, but is very specific. And people aren't interested in the others, they just want to know what they're interested in. And that provides great opportunity for an event website to start to niche down into each of these individual searches. So they're no longer just targeting the main event, they're also targeting these subtopics. I mean, people know this intuitively, because when we search around the internet, if you go onto an e-commerce store, you'll see men's shoes, women's shoes, you'll see kids' shoes. It'll all be broken down into subtopics. You don't just go onto a website and see shoes. So it's exactly the same way for an event website. Now, the way we start to bring this together is so through keyword research, first step is we'll brainstorm. We'll brainstorm what subtopics that there are for a specific event, speak with the client, and we'll agree, what are the focus topics, the key terms that people might be looking for.
And those subtopics you find are typically like the tracks or the tags that people generally search and filter an agenda through?
Absolutely. I'll then go away and using a keyword or an equivalent to keyword planner, then go and find the actual searches for those streams or topics, and then get back to the client and say, okay, we found loads of search around this one, not so much around this one, and also I found other opportunities for these other ones as well that maybe we hadn't thought about. And then from that we come up with a plan as to which ones we're going to target, and that normally takes the form of actual pages. So we'll then set up pages, and these pages then become a lot more powerful when we're able to then bring in the agendas we spoke about before, and bring in related speakers. So at the same time, what we can do is then start to tag speakers and agenda items with the same topics than which we're setting the pages up about. And so therefore, when we set that page up, it will automatically bring in all of the agenda items relating to it, all the speakers that are speaking there. And bear in mind, this is now all speaker generated content that as an event organizer, you don't have to write yourself. So minimizing the effort in terms of updating and maintaining this page, which is often the concern with marketing teams, that there's going to be loads of work with related to setting up these pages. But the key first step is to identify the topics and the pages in which you need to set up.
And so when we're talking about pages, I feel like traditionally most events have one page on their event website that says view the agenda, and then you can generally search and filter. And what you're recommending is having that sort of full agenda page, but then creating sort of these sub pages specifically around the topics that maybe pull out that track that gives additional details, highlights the speakers of that track, maybe the key sessions that are a part of it, so that the internet will compound how many times you're talking about that topic and just helping feed and make it more searchable. Is that your
100%? And you can also help to boost those pages, for example, within the actual agenda items, to then link to that page. So internal links like that within a website are important. So if you have lots of agenda items all linking to the main topic page, that'll help to boost that page too. There's a bit of a tip.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
And then we had a great question come in. And when we say agenda items, what are we specifically talking about? Are those session titles, descriptions, speaker details? What do we say when we say agenda items?
Agenda synopsis for a talk. I mean, there's many names in which you'll call it, but yeah, a description as to the talk that's going to happen.
Got it. So when we say agenda items, generally that's going to be date, time, session title, session description, synopsis, maybe your speaker, your speaker's title, maybe the company they work for, that speaker's bio, their synopsis of their history, all of those items. Are we constituting agenda items?
Maybe not the speaker bio, because that could be pulled in separately by the speaker themselves. There's no harm, obviously, in saying who the speaker is going to be. It's details of the topic in which you're going to be talking about, with a brief summary of that subject, and what people would, as a person, when you're reading this, just a nice little summary of what to expect when you go and see that talk. A nice introduction to it.
That's awesome. And we had a question about if we could share some examples of agenda pages that you're referring to. And I don't know if we have any today, but Shiv, we can definitely make sure we follow up with you and get you some screenshots and examples of the agenda pages that we're discussing today.
No problem.
Rachel has another great question. So many good questions today. Super engaged. Rachel asked, some events use HubSpot, for example, to do campaign landing pages. How can that affect SEO since the traffic is sent to a different domain address from where your actual event domain is?
Okay, great.
Rachel's in your second copy. I'm here for it.
So this is, I presume this. So this is, if this is on HubSpot, unfortunately, you lose SEO value from that page. So with SEO, you're building equity around a particular domain, and that is the domain of your event website. So if you have other domains, whether it's on HubSpot, and I know you get other sort of registration providers and all sorts of other domains, Google sees that as something separate. So unless you're doing it on your domain, unfortunately you're losing any real value. There's always some value with other domains, but it's greatly diminished. And if you're spending any time or effort creating content and looking to drive organic traffic, I'd always recommend doing it on your domain.
So what if the email campaign coming out of HubSpot is directing the traffic to your website and not necessarily to the landing page in HubSpot? Does that change the conversation around SEO?
It does. So landing pages, they have many roles. I mean, if it's literally there just to receive a visitor from an email campaign, you're not looking for that page to actually rank, then it doesn't matter, to be honest. On the other hand, if you're looking sometimes one part of SEO is also looking at the engagement that people have on a page. So if an email campaign is taken to a page on your site and there's fantastic engagement on there, Google will see that, and you will get benefit from that. So, but it's difficult sometimes for a page to have many uses, because typically within SEO you need a reasonable amount of content for Google to read and to rank and to assess, whereas often landing page design has fairly minimal design without much content on there. So it's sometimes difficult to achieve both. So if it's purely a landing page for maybe PPC or from email campaign, I'd almost consider that separate and maybe have a separate page which you're looking to rank within Google.
Got it.
It's difficult to achieve the two.
Different objectives there.
Yeah.
Awesome. So this happened to me recently, actually, for my next question, and it's around the importance of keeping historical sites live, because I think after an event, typically we want to keep that domain. So we are taking down the 2023 site and agenda and putting up 24, 25, whatever the next, event cycle may be. So walk through a little bit why it's important to keep that historical past live event information up there. And I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was searching for past agendas for a well-known conference that we all know, and I wanted to see maybe what the topics they were talking about 5 years ago and the inception of the event. What was that first year agenda like? When I started searching, nothing from the event organizers came up. I went back 5 years, and all of the sites that came up when I was searching were all affiliate sites talking about the event. And here's the sessions I thought were important, which are all still great from a marketing lens, great traffic, still relevant content all around it, but it's not content they own or manage. And so talk about the importance of keeping that historical live agenda pages, some of that content still active on the web, and how that impacts their SEO for future programs.
Fantastic question. When I first started working in the events sector, the one thing that's from an SEO point of view that absolutely I saw such a missed opportunity was the fact that I saw so many events that basically binned all of their content after the event, just like you say. So Google really. So when you think of SEO, you always think of a snowball, of building momentum, of building traction over time. And one of the ways in which you do this is just gradually over time building more and more content onto a site, and that's any website, not just an events website. So if you get rid of content, you're getting rid of so many metrics where Google has sent people to a page, they've engaged with that page, and then you've just said to Google, we don't want that anymore. And so all of that equity in which you've built up on whether it's a agenda item, whether it's a blog post, whether it's an old speaker, all of that just gets lost, and Google has to start again. And so you're missing such an opportunity if you do not roll over old content or keep old content on your website. So it obviously requires planning in how you do that, because you'll have last year's items, you'll have next year's items coming up, and how you best deal with that. So there needs to be a thought process on how you deal with it. So, for example, we've spoken about the agendas and topic pages a little bit earlier. So one way is to you have your last year's events, in which obviously you will show the speakers and agenda items are there, in which you're referring to what's going to be happening that year. Then it happens, and you can refer to what happened last year, and you can retain that information on there. And then as we go around to next year, we can then refer back to, we can then start putting in what's going to be next year's agenda items and refer to that. So we have one page which is constantly live in terms of what did happen, what's going to happen, and then obviously that cycle then repeats itself. There's certainly the opportunity to then, in the same vein, retain some of that older content for last year and the year before, especially for agenda items or for pages in which have performed well. And I'd certainly consider, because keeping everything can be a challenge from year to year, but you certainly want to keep the pages that are performing well. And you'd assess that using Google Search Console and keep those. But you certainly want to, for things like topic pages and well-performing pages, you certainly want to keep them, because by deleting them, in many ways you're taking a step back to the 2 steps forward that you took last year with adding all of this amazing content.
So your recommendation would be somewhere on the current year's event site, having a page that lists all the previous year's topics. And maybe it's a backlink that takes it to another site or another page that lists all of those agenda, those key terms, all the things that we've been talking about, but then houses it still together. So like year over year is still
Absolutely.
being benefited by the current year.
Absolutely. So it's an archive of what's been on previously. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, as we're wrapping up here, last question for you. We've talked a lot about SEO and websites and how to optimize your event websites. Where else can SEO be applied? Is it in your CRM databases? Is it on filing systems? Where else can SEO be applied beyond event websites?
Well, any website that's open to Google that Google can crawl. Yeah, any website. If your CRM is open to the internet and Google can come in and crawl it, you can optimize it. You can optimize anything that's open to the internet that Google can crawl. It can crawl PDFs, crawl web pages, crawl images. It can crawl video files, audio files. So anything that's open to the internet. So that's both a good and a bad thing, depending on whether you know it's open to the internet or not.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I think we all have heard the big changes coming to Google starting tomorrow, which as a consumer, I'm very excited about. As an event marketer, I'm very concerned about the changes and the new spam blockers coming out with Google tomorrow. How is that going to impact SEO?
Google is always bringing out spam blockers all the time, because people are always trying to work out ways to, quite frankly, to get to the top of Google without earning it, without providing good quality content. So in many ways, it doesn't, if you're producing good quality pages, good quality content, if you're using AI in a responsible way, in which it's an assistant rather than just something that does it for you, then it's nothing to be worried about. It's only if you're trying to take shortcuts that it is something to worry about. So we've as an SEO, Google make these updates all the time. Every year they make new spam updates as new people try and shortcut the system. So my advice is just concentrate on providing good quality content that real people want to read, find engaging, will actually add value to them when they come onto it, rather than just writing for the search engines. If you write for people and create websites and pages for people, then you have no problems.
I'm going to leave it right there. That was the most beautiful, poetic ending to the webinar. I think that's great takeaway advice. Thank you all for joining us today. We really enjoyed the conversation. John, thanks for being on with us and educating us on all things SEO. I hope you guys learned a little bit and help get your event sites searchable. And I hope people are finding the relevant content as you're writing for people, like John said. Thank you guys for joining us today. Really hope you found this valuable. Connect with us on LinkedIn. And as always, this will be on demand, so you can always come back and search for this webinar in the future. So thanks, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.